Welcome in, y'all. Timeshare Clarence. First and foremost, I want to thank God for waking me up this morning, bless me with another day, another opportunity to work towards becoming the man I desire to be. So I'm gonna talk a little bit more about Jesus. So as soon as I stop recording, you know what? Now let me talk about God first. All right. As a parent, um, I feel like He really has provided me with everything I need to have so much more than I even wanted for myself. Even if I didn't understand it at the time, He's gotten me through situations for me to learn lessons that are benefiting me now and will benefit me for the rest of my life. So he has done his part. I think the vast majority of the time we have to get to a point in our lives where we accept maybe we're not doing our part, right? So I'm not doing my part. I haven't been doing my part. And it's not just with faith, but just in life in general. When we're in situations that we don't want to be in, and we're not getting out of them, it's because we're not willing to make the changes. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about God for, because the being perfect conflict, at least in my interpretation, because somebody else can have a different interpretation and say that showing the ability to change demonstrates, that He's perfect. My definition of perfect means you don't make mistakes. And I felt like God made mistakes and God changed. And that's why, so that's the image of God that allows me to function, right? That he gave us the blueprint. Some people see it differently, but that's how I see it. So I don't gotta beat myself up about not being perfect. I just have to accept the fact that I'm just a man, and as a man, the best thing I can do is trust God and follow His example. And even God decided He needed to change to get the outcome that He wanted to have, because as a parent, you're gonna want the best for your kids. So He created us, hoping for the best, intending for the best, setting us up for success, but we couldn't get it right. And He decided that He would show us how to do it. And He changed. So my takeaway from that is truly to strive to be like God is first and foremost to accept that you're not perfect, and He wasn't perfect. And despite the fact that He wasn't perfect, and because you're not perfect, it doesn't change what you have the capacity to do. You don't have to be perfect to be extraordinary. You don't have to be perfect to accomplish great things. And a lot of people so this is where y'all can clearly see Clarence didn't get money and lose his mind. I felt the way I felt before I made it, but I will make it, and I'll explain that in another video, because that's guaranteed as well. So, but that's why I feel the way I feel, because y'all can't see it, but I see all the stuff God did in my life and all the experiences leading me to be where I'm at, that guarantees, as long as I don't die, I'll create generational wealth for my family, and also having at least a little bit of security that if there is, by some tragic circumstance, a scenario where I do die before I accomplish this, then my kids at least have a better shot. Money won't really replace my influence, but the cool thing is they'll have the benefit of, even if they don't have me, they'll have the benefit of my influence by virtue of these videos. So I'm gonna put as much out there as I can, because they might not want it until they 30. I wish I could talk to my dad right now. And I appreciate all the conversations and I'm glad that I talked to my dad as much as I did talk to, because I talked to my dad a lot. But I talked to my dad a lot because he never was judgmental about anything. I talked to my dad a lot because whatever I asked my dad, he would explain it. He would tell me the truth. He said, you might not like this, but this is the reality. And I appreciate that so much, because not a lot of people did that. Matter of fact, most people didn't do that. Most people wouldn't tell it to my face, right? So I value that from my dad, and I value my dad's opinion on a lot of things, because I know that even if whatever he was saying was stupid as hell to me, the reason that he was saying is because he truly believed that that was the best thing for me to do in the situation. And then also it helped me seeing how wrong that could be. So I'm more open when, with my kids, that, it may be a better idea than my idea. It may be a better way to do it than and I'm open to that, but you gotta show me. But until then, you're gonna do it my way. If you have a better way of doing it, I'm only gonna judge the outcome, because I don't really care how you get it done. That's one thing. My kids might dislike what I tried to instill in them, but it was basically the result has to be to the standard. And I think it was some stuff lost in translation, because I felt like my older kids probably believed that the reason I told them to do stuff a certain way was because it had to be done my way. But the reality is, I didn't care how it got done. It's just that I know the way that I was showing them would generate the results that they needed to have. Now, if they had another way to accomplish that, I don't care. I'm not saying something because you're not doing it my way. I'm saying something because you didn't accomplish the result that was supposed to be accomplished. And again, I feel the same thing about God. That's why we have free will. It's not we have to do stuff a certain way. It's that we have to get the job done. And it's a lot of flexibility in that. And again, all of this stuff is why my faith in God will never waver, because I don't try to make him something that I don't believe that he is. But with all of that being said, this is why I'm not worried about it. Now, I did grow up in churches where they was gonna send you to hell all the time. Heard so much about going. I was so scared about going to hell. Hope that didn't cut off. So my battery low, but I don't got too much more. Yeah, I was so scared about going to hell. I was so scared about going to hell that I didn't want to read the Bible, because that's when it scared. I could watch scary movies. Only thing that really scared me was stuff that dealt with spiritual stuff. But stupid stuff like Chucky, my mindset is it's a doll. Even if it got a knife, it's a doll. It weighs 2 pounds. It can't push a door. I don't care, because it's just not even big enough to do. So I wouldn't, I used to think like that even as a kid, but I'd be petrified when I was reading the Bible about it specifically, because again, early on, when I'm trying to read the Bible, it's just the natural tendency to start from the beginning. And man, getting into all of the stuff that I was told about the penalty for not pleasing God, it was scary. It was terrifying. And then around middle school, I got it was this book called A Divine Revelation of Hell. And I don't know who had it, but I got access to it. I was reading it. Oh, man, I was terrified. So, that didn't feel right to me. Like that, I think that was the first thing that turned me off about all of the religious traditions and beliefs that was kind of pushed on me in my childhood. Was the biggest thing was the whole hell dynamic. Just the setup that, like, it's almost impossible to meet this standard, but you said that's cool, that I don't have to. But if I come up short, then I mean, just agonizing torture for all of eternity. Immediately to me, that felt wrong. Now, I wasn't a parent at this time, so that's the extent of it. That felt wrong. That felt like, come on, man, God ain't no bully. That's how I felt. That's really how I felt about religion. Like, y'all trying to convince me God is a bully, and if I don't do stuff his way, then he's gonna punish me. But again, I'm not a parent at this time, so that's the extent of the thought. Is that that just don't add up to me, because what I know of God is not that, right? So a lot of times when I was young, that's what actually stopped me from reading the Bible, because every time I read the Bible, stuff would start happening. Like, and I was terrified. I was scared. You know, everybody kept telling me I was under attack by demons. And I mean, our mind is a very powerful thing, and experiencing stuff like that, I didn't want no parts of it. So it pushed me away, because it didn't happen if I was hanging out, bowling, you know, watching movies, whatever. But when I was sitting up reading the Bible, especially by myself, then like I had like sleep paralysis, and I was really scared. My body would, like, all of the heat would leave my body. I would go ice cold. And being a kid, when I was a kid, because I still was taught that God gonna protect you. So I would be terrified, and when I would go to sleep, I would wrap my blanket around everything but my face so I could breathe, and just like pray and convince myself that I was protected, because I prayed, and I was terrified that it was like spirits and demons that was out there that could attack me or wanted to. So like, man, that was a horrible experience, right? As I got older, I outgrew that at some point, but I mean, and I'm talking probably in my late 20s, and I still honestly shy away from it because I don't want to experience that anymore. But was it spirits, or was it me based off what was pumped into me, projecting, and then therefore creating this negative impact in my life? Because like, everybody wasn't impacted like that, but the difference was belief, right? But that's because I was convinced to believe that God would allow all of these terrible things to happen to me if I wasn't right with him. So I need to make sure that I'm right with him, because you better have God money, right? I'm sorry. Anyway, but that didn't sit right with me. And then when I became a father, then it's even more stuff, because then I could never see my child to go through unnecessary stuff. I could never see wanting to punish my child for not being perfect. I did want to prepare my children to be the best people that they could be, and I wanted to prepare them to be as successful as they could possibly be. But even with that mentality of, you scare stuff into people to get people to comply. You force people to do stuff with fear, with power, with intimidation. So again, that's like Old Testament. Cause I, don't get me wrong, read the New Testament, but the impact was completely different because the Old Testament terrified me. But it still, it pushed me away more than it helped me to progress. So then again, the change in God and then the doctrine in the New Testament, I think I probably, the elements that people focus on the most, I felt like, man, I mastered that, like adopted that to where it's wholeheartedly integrated in every fiber of my being, like way more than a lot of people who claim that they ministers and whatever else. Like, they, and again, not to do a compare, just saying, not being judgmental, being forgiving, like giving, like I do all of that. Nobody can dispute it. That's who I am. I adopted all of those things into just me. It's not an action. It's just who I am. It's not like, okay, I'm gonna do this. No, this is who I am. That's two different things. So with me understanding all of that, and then also knowing how conflicted I've been throughout these trying times, but also knowing that regardless of whether I went to church or not, I still prayed. I still expressed gratitude every day. I still talk to God about what, like, more than most people that's in church all the time. And he still come through. So like, you can't, it ain't about that, man. Cause if I was wrong, then it's too much evidence that he's still blessing me as long as I do what I'm supposed to do. So he don't have a problem with me not believing he perfect. Like, and not just me, a lot of other people. I listen to a lot of motivational speakers, and I mean, they range, like, it's whatever your flavor is one out there is some people that at times have been impactful, and it's some people, and it changes. Different people get inspired by different people, but I feel like all of those people being out there is confirmation that it's true for everybody, whether it's an ex-con, whether it's a preacher's kid, whether it's a former athlete, whether it's a former drug addict, prostitute, whatever. Like, process the same for everybody. And most of them tell you that. So there's no reason for me to doubt it. And I don't doubt it. So just like, that is why it's so easy for me to maintain my faith, because it's not dependent on God being perfect. And I feel like it's actually the example that he changed, which I don't feel like is an opinion. I feel like it's well documented in the Bible, New Testament, Old Testament, completely different doctrine. That is confirmation that God changed. And to me, that establishes the fact that that is what we are, how we are designed, is not to be perfect, is to get better, is to figure stuff out and make the changes that we need to make to build the lives that we want to have. And it is free will. But God is in it, right? And the examples are out there to establish how many different situations, no matter how extreme they were, with all these different people, like, God dealt with it one way before, and then he changed how he dealt with it. And he said that's not the way to deal with it. So that is more so than being perfect. What I feel like striving to be like God is to look at what's going on and be willing to change, and to be willing to do what's going to generate and create and contribute to better outcomes, with the understanding that ultimately, like, I might not know how I'm going to get there, but he put enough things in place to ensure me that I will. And so I don't doubt that. It's just the journey there. I know I have to be flexible because he gonna redirect me at times, and hopefully I get better at understanding his directions, because just like with my kids, as many times as I explain and try to make sure that they understand, if I don't see the behavior, it's still the same thing. I gotta try something else. And it would be so easy if they would just listen. So I need to do a better job of listening. And I feel like I'm just kind of getting to the point where I'm understanding that God ain't about to like talk to me like I'm talking to y'all, but he put stuff in place in my life to direct me a certain way. So, I got Saturday and Sunday off. I haven't had Sunday off for 3 years. So what does that mean? I can try to find a church home, right? Bless me with my disability. What does that mean? I had a peace of mind where now I can focus on being a sales rep. Now I can focus on being a sales rep. What does that mean? My earning potential is way more than it would have been if I did what I wanted to do, which was be a manager. What does it mean? I don't have to be there as much as I would have to. So I have more time to spend with my kids. Not only do I have more time to spend with my kids, I have more money to do things to enjoy with my kids. So it really, like, he put me in a situation to make the best of it. But it wasn't my plan. It was still his plan. I still had free will. But I did what I should have been doing and what I needed to do. And eventually we got where we are. I probably would have been here a lot faster had I understood his instructions earlier. But I feel like I'm understanding more. And the same grace that I see demonstrated in my life, then I try to extend that to my kids. But I also try to understand the teaching, and as he is revealing things to me, how hopefully I can share these lessons with my kids so they get it earlier, right? But I'm gonna try to hang around for as long as I can, hopefully another 80 years. And that's a very long time, and that's a lot of information. And hopefully it is worthwhile and contributes to the outcomes that I wanted to. But either way, it ain't about to be perfect, but it's still about to be great. And that's why I thank God every day for his example, for his influence in my life, and for how he continues to bless me. So, yeah, like, I never doubt God. And now that I had this kind of conflict lifted off of me of trying to reconcile how y'all keep trying to convince me that he's perfect, to just accept that he's not, and Jesus is not, and we're not supposed to be, but we're supposed to be willing to change to try to get to that point. And when we see something isn't working, to actually be willing to make the adjustments so that we can get the outcomes that we want. That's what God has shown me. And now is hopefully I'll do a better job of incorporating that to apply it to the stuff that I already know. Just that shift in perspective, hopefully it will pay dividends. But whatever happens, y'all gonna see it because I'm put it out there. So appreciate y'all for tuning in. Till next time, Timeshare Clarence. Peace.